Good morning. Welcome to the Build in Digital Micro Conference, Beyond the Build. How unique identification powers circular construction. Kindly sponsored by GS1 UK. In this session, we will be exploring how to unlock the full potential of a circular economy in construction by assigning unique digital identities to materials through QR codes, radio frequency identification, or RFID, and other technologies which enables seamless traceability, reuse, and recycling. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker today, who is Shervin Yousefzadeh, Head of Construction at GS1 UK. Shervin, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Joe. My name is Shervin Yousefzadeh. I'm Head of Construction at GS1 UK. As Joe mentions, today we are going to talk about, the role of the unique identifications and how a unique ID can power circular constructions. So we have Anastasia from Circulant who talks about the solution who can, help you to create that circular economy. And we also have Chloe from Natural Building System to talk about our standard and also the solutions in actions and talk about the Old Newton school where they actually implement this standard and this solution. But before we start, let's review some of the challenges that the construction industry face when it comes to the products. So first of all, as you probably know, construction is a very fragmented industry. So we are working, majority of us work in a silo. And when you work in silo, accessing to the right data is going to be very difficult for the next party or next stakeholder in the chain. And because we are working silo, because of lack of interoperability between these, players, the traceability in the construction industry is not as great as other industries. And that was the topic of our discussion during at the breakout sessions, that the traceability is not perfect in the construction industry. And when traceability is not perfect, then the recall process is not perfect. So all these challenges are kind of linked together, and then it ended lead to lack of poor waste management or automations. But what I said during the breakout session, and I would like to mention it here, that this is not unique to the construction industry. Other industries have had similar challenges in the past. If you look at the retail, if you look at the healthcare, they had similar challenges. So our message is to the construction industry: do not reinvent the wheel. Let's just learn from other industries. And when you look at the other industry and check how they overcome these challenges, you can see the trace of GS1 standards. So we're not the solution provider, we're not the hardware provider, but the standard behind all these solutions facilitating traceability, transparency, and digitalizations in not only in the construction industry, but all other industries. But who is GS1? Some of you may have heard of the GS1, but majority normally have no idea who is GS1. We are a global organization. We are a not-for-profit global organization operating in 118 countries. Over 200 million products currently carry GS1 barcode. So when you shop at the Tesco, Sainsbury, the barcode that you scan at the point of sale, that's a GS1 barcode. We have over 60,000 members just in the UK, and 6 billion times our barcode are scanned per day. That's even more than Google search. But we are not a startup. As I mentioned, other industry have implemented our standard for over 51 years. So the very first product was barcoded in 1974, and we came a long way up to here. And now we're dealing with other initiatives like digital product passport or QR powered by GS1. So we are not a startup. We just want to bring the same concept into the construction industry. And what we do is based on 3 simple steps: identify, capture, and share. So when I'm talking about identify, or when we are talking about the identifications, we are talking about almost 12 different unique IDs for different reasons. The key one, and the one you probably have seen a lot, is the Global Trade Item Number, or GTIN, in some countries also is still known as a EAN. So this is the one that you see at the back of almost every products in shops. But there are other unique identifications to identify locations like GLN, to identify individual assets like GIAI, or for logistic purposes, we have another unique ID for SSCC. But as I mentioned, we have over 12 different unique IDs for different reasons. As I mentioned, the most popular one, or the one that you probably have seen everywhere, is the global trade item number. This is again a quick a screenshot or a photo of a steel manufacturer in Australia that are currently using our standard, and they are using data matrix or 2D barcode to capture even more information. The linear barcode can carry limited data, but with the 2D matrix, with the QR code or with the RFID, you have the opportunity to even carry more information. In this example, they capture all the information they need for traceability, like batch number, lot number, serial number, all within that 2D barcode. So from that picture, let's talk about the data capture. As I mentioned, the very first step is to identify your product, asset, location, person, palette, whatever. The next step is to actually agree on, okay, what data carrier I'm going to use. Linear barcode, 2D barcode or QR powered by GS1, or RFID. And each of these data carriers has its own kind of use cases. For example, if you don't have a line of sight, you have to use RFID because you don't need to scan, actually have the line of sight to scan the RFID. If you want to carry more information than just the GTINs, then QR powered by GS1 or 2D matrix is the right data carrier for you. Or if you just want to carry the GTINs, then linear barcode is the solution. So it really depends on the use cases and what you are going to use it for. But what's important is the data attached or captured by these data carriers. And the next step, we do have also sharing the standards, open sharing the standards like GDSN, EDI, or PCIS, but I'm not going into the detail of these sharing the standards. Within the construction industry, our goal is to identify product, places, and assets. This is our kind of first aim. But definitely, as I said, we have 12 different IDs that eventually we would like to be able to, or we would like the industry, not us, identify almost everything in a common language, in a standard way. So when we are talking about one product or using that unique ID should means or should be kind of completely interoperable to the rest of the supply chain. So if I want to put our standards or map our standard with the supply chain in the construction industry, this is how it's look like. And you can see different standard at different kind of steps or at the different players or stakeholders in a supply chain, from raw materials to the maintenance. All the information can be carried over. And why we think this is the right thing to do? Because we would like to use just one unique ID, one kind of identifier to flow the information from manufacturers to the asset owners and also post for maintenance. And also when it comes to the end of the life cycle of that product, we would like to, the end user to be able to trace that product to the origin of that material or that products. And we are talking about in 50 years time, 30 years time. The life cycle of the products in the construction industry is over 20, 30 years time. So we want the industry to be able to identify that products after 30 years, 40 years, 100 years, and also get access to the trusted information about the circularity of that product, how they can manage the waste, if they should demolish it, if they should reuse it, and all can be done by using a unique ID, because that's create that traceability of the product. These are some of the, the key benefit of the G10s, but if I want to just list, the value of the using unique ID in the construction industry, I need to add another 20, 30 star. These are the key ones. So as I mentioned, we are not the solution providers, but we are laying the foundation for the traceability. So with that traceability, you can have more efficient and profitable industry. You can authenticate the product similar to what Amazon is doing using GS1 standards. So if you want to sell anything on Amazon, Amazon mandated the use of GS1 standards. So you need to get a unique ID because that's how Amazon can authenticate the product. It helps with the digital transformations because you are using an interoperable, completely software and hardware agnostic ID, which can transfer information between different solution providers. And also it is ISO compliant. We are working with the industry. We do have a construction user group. We meet every 2-3 months. You probably notice some of the big names, big players in the construction industries here. So they are big advocates and big user of GS1 standards. They share their best practices. If anyone has any challenges with the adoption of the GS1 standards, it's very collaborative environment and they share how, best is to overcome that challenge. But as I mentioned, we are a global organization. So what we are trying to do in the UK is currently happening in 15 other countries. So 15 other GS1 across the globe, including China now, Australia, New Zealand, are actively working in the construction industry to implement GS1 standard within this industry because traceability or lack of traceability in the construction industry is not only in the UK. I think it's a global issue. And that's why we want to create a global standard, or we want to encourage the construction industry across the globe that use a standard that is completely interoperable. It's not national, but it's completely international. So that's about GS1. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open the room to any questions you might have.
Excellent. Thank you, Shervin. Very insightful presentation and fascinating, some of the things you mentioned there about the fact that your QR codes are, what was it, more used than a Google search. Right, thank you. Right, have we got any questions for Shervin, please?
I'm happy to ask a question, Shervin, about your organisation. I know we've spoken before, but I know you're a membership organisation, and I think me and you chatted about this recently. So it's quite nice if you could maybe explain that a little bit to everybody on the call, because that's quite a nice way of running a business.
Yes. So as I said, we are a not-for-profit organizations, and the way that we operating is we are a membership organization. So any manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, or asset owner, if they need to have ID or allocating, the ID to their products, they just join us as a member, which the membership fee is almost nothing, to be honest. As I said, because we are completely not for profit, they join us and then they will get access to the platform called My Number Bank. And, depending on their package, and it's completely based on their turnover, they will be allocated a number of G10s, like 10,000, 100,000, and they can manage their data within the My Number Bank too.
Okay, so you mentioned a database there as well, Shervin. That was a great answer, by the way. But it was just if you just explain a bit more about that software system, because it sounds like it's something that could be really useful for people.
I'm assuming you're asking about the My Number Bank, isn't it? It's just an online platform. It's not a software. It's an online platform. Members have access to that platform just to manage their G10s and the IDs that have been they can allocate to their products. They can and we do encourage them to capture the product information within the My Number Bank too, because then it will be pushed to the global database. So end users, if they scan or they use verified by GS1, portal, they can check the authenticity of that product.
Thank you. That was a great question. I think you've got two more questions coming as well.
Great.
Thank you, Julian. Yes, we have. We've got a hand raised from Ali Saad. Ali, what's your question to Shervin, please?
Hi, Shervin.
Ali.
Oh, I know Shervin pretty well. We've been working together. Um, Shervin, I just have a question regarding the unique identifiers. So, who's the first party or who's the first stakeholder to be using this unique identifier? So, you as a GS1, you provide this GTIN, but who's the first one who take it and start using it in the construction?
In the construction, it start with the manufacturers. So manufacturers and suppliers are the ones who should identify their products first, and then it pass the information throughout the supply chain. So it just started with the manufacturers. Sometimes distributors and wholesalers, those who are selling their own products, also join us to identify their products as well. But it should start with the manufacturers and producers at the start. But we are talking about the GTIN, which is for products. If you talk about, GIAI, which is the asset, unique ID for the asset, then it should start, asset owners should assign that ID to their assets or their maintainable assets.
Next question we have is from Ionis Marco. Ionis, do you want to ask your question to Shervin?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how you get like we spoke before, in the breakout rooms, how do you, for example, if you have reclaimed materials or existing materials that they have been used in existing building and you want to reuse them in another building, how do they register for GIS for a GIS number?
Joining GS1 and getting GS1 ID is just, as I said, would take you 5 minutes. It's not only about the ID, it's about the data that you have access about the existing products. So if the asset owners have access to the valuable data for their assets, the reason I'm asking, I'm using the word assets because it's not product anymore. It's it's been built and passed over. Then they can start identifying those products or assets from the time they are making kind of the post constructions. But it's all about the data they have access to. If there is no data about this building, I can't provide any circularity, any sustainability informations. So just identifying the product without linking other informations to that product, you're not getting any value out of that. It's all about the data. But the reason we are emphasizing on the unique ID, that unique ID is the common language, is the link between different data resources, between the PIM providers, the database, it can link all the informations. And if we cannot identify that, okay, we're talking about these glasses, and it means exactly the same in China, Australia, we can't really start linking informations to this product. First, we need to identify our products in a common and a global and a standard way before we can start even talking about any other aspect of circularity or sustainability. For the existing building, it's a little bit challenging because there might no information is available for that product. We don't know who is the manufacturers, but we still encourage asset owners, like even universities, that even if you start to trace the informations for these chairs, doors, windows from today, it's better than nothing. So you can start to trace your product from today if you don't have any information before it's been installed on your site.
Thank you.
One real life problem of construction sites, Shervin, is theft. Lots of things get stolen. And I'm just wondering, from a traceability point of view, is there a way to quantify a potential saving for construction companies by implementing GS1 codes? Things obviously are therefore a lot more traceable. And I'm just wondering if there's like, you will kind of, this is the direct benefit, you will safeguard this, you will save this. If you can kind of, is there a go-to kind of tagline that you often say?
There is. The thing is, identifying product is not, or traceability is slightly different to the tracking. So if you're about tracking to stop, for example, our assets, our plans are missing from the construction site, again, we can help with that because, well, just to let you know, we had a meeting 3 weeks ago with the European hire associations. So big rental companies in the UK, one of the challenges they have, again, about having a standard way of identifying their assets. But just identifying those plants or those assets are not going to stop theft from getting, removing those plants from the site. But there are technologies like GPS or, active RFID, which let you to trace or track that product. Again, it really depends on the use case. But we can talk about, tracking product. We can talk about the tracking assets when we first being able to identify it in a standard way. If we can't identify them, then we can't really talk about, okay, what plant or was missing in a standard way. In a silo, yes, we can do that, but we are talking about, more transparent industry. As I said, we do have a value proposition for each players in the supply chain, including architects, contractors, FM, distributors, wholesalers. If I want to go through the benefit of each of them, it would take ages, to be honest. But if anybody interested, because I'm sure we have a mixed audience today, and I don't want to focus on one segment of the industry. For that reason, if anyone interested to find out the value for their own segments, please do let us know. We are more than happy to arrange a quick call with you and then go through the value of unique identifications in the construction industry for your segments. And when we are talking about the contractors and architects, normally these are the segments that will get the value from suppliers identify the products at the first instance. They don't need to become a GS1 members. They don't need to kind of join us as a members. They just, as long as they know that this is happening, they can link all the dots and get the harness the value of these unique identifications in their segments. Hopefully I answer your questions, Joe.
Yes, thank you, Shervin. And thank you for a very insightful presentation. So all that's left to do is to round up and summarize today's presentations. So we first heard from Shervin, who is the head of construction at GS1 UK. Shervin started by setting the scene, discussing the industry and how it largely works in silos still, which is obviously part of the challenge. One way of linking the various silos together is by giving unique identification numbers to various products that exist. Shervin explained that GS1 are a not-for-profit membership organisation that create the unique identification numbers for all products using a database, and all of which carry data for that particular product it's matched to. The data each identification number carries involves places, companies, people, and transport. One example is Amazon, who use GS1 standards to identify its products so they can comply with their health and safety, sustainability, and traceability needs. GS1 are a global company and strive to challenge the global issue of a lack of traceability by using these unique identification numbers. We then had our second keynote, which came from Anastasia Stella, who's the co-founder and CEO of Circuland. Anastasia talks about a particular digital solution that links with the unique identification numbers to make the data more meaningful. Circuland creates a platform to make sense of the fairly new creation of digital passports. Digital passports are an integral part to this software and are split into digital building passports and digital product passports. Building passports carry data about where the particular products are located inside a building and via a BIM model, so you can see where they are from your own desktop. You only have to collect the data once, then you can use this digital passport for multiple projects and multiple uses, even creating paperwork that can be automated, making things easier for multiple disciplines working across the construction sector. I personally was blown away by the platform and the software that Anastasia kind of profiled, and it was a brilliant innovation. And then finally, our final keynote came from Chloe Donovan, who's the managing director at Natural Building Systems, and Chloe shared a case study and best practice within their company. Chloe started to discuss the circular construction industry. She gave a quick explanation of what their product is, which is essentially a modern method of construction using sustainable panels that potentially have the ability to have a second life. Their case study was on the old Newton School, in which she used the Circular platform and their BIM model to link the UIN on each panel. Chloe shared some of the lessons learned, one of which, interestingly, was that you can now narrow down each individual unique identification number a little too much. But by using RFID scanners and codes, which does still need a little bit of manual work, it has helped to keep tabs on the panels where they need to go, and is even more useful when disassembling the panels. Circularity in the building industry is very difficult to do, but today I think we've shown that it can be achieved. So thank you very much to our keynotes, and I hope to see you all at a future Building Digital online micro conference. Again, thank you from us, and enjoy the rest of your day.